There's an uncomfortable truth that almost no one dares to admit. Most people lose, not because of a lack of intelligence, but because they're playing the wrong game. They talk too much, react too quickly, trust too soon, and then they don't understand why they always fall behind. The world doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards a correct understanding of reality. And Machiavelli knew this centuries before any modern manual for success. While many believe that character, effort, and transparency are enough, those who truly advance understand something counterintuitive. Thinking ahead requires silence, strategy, and choices that don't always seem pretty. Perhaps you've experienced this firsthand. You do everything right, but someone less prepared gets ahead of you. You trust them, but you're used. You react emotionally, and the situation turns against you. This isn't bad luck. It's a lack of understanding of the game. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, works all the time. At work, in relationships, in financial decisions, in life. The problem is that nobody taught you how to play without exposing yourself, without becoming a target, and without being manipulated. In this video, you'll learn simple yet rare principles that completely change how you position yourself. It's not about manipulating people, it's about not being manipulated. It's not about being cruel, it's about being lucid. If you apply half of what you'll hear here, you'll already be several moves ahead of most, because those who understand the invisible game never walk in the dark again. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now, not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder you are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. There's a silent mistake many people make without realizing it, and it often proves costly: talking too much. It's not out of malice, it's simply anxiety. People think that the more they explain, the more secure they feel. But the real world doesn't work that way. In practice, revealing everything about oneself gives away ammunition for free. Machiavelli already warned that politics is guided by reality, not ideals, and reality is simple. Information is power. When someone shares plans, weaknesses, frustrations, and next steps with any available ear, they are not being transparent, they are being predictable. And predictability weakens. The end justifies the means when the objective is to protect oneself in a game where not everyone plays fair. Keeping certain cards under wraps isn't dishonesty. It's strategic survival, the calculated use of force in its most silent form. An experienced mentor often observes something curious. The less a person talks about themselves, the more attention they receive. This happens because silence creates space, and space generates curiosity. While some people spill details of their lives over coffee in work groups, or even in important meetings, others speak little, choose their words carefully, and leave gaps. These gaps allow others to fill them with projections, usually positive ones. That's where the appearance of virtue comes in. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not, but about not revealing the behind-the-scenes secrets before the premiere. Think about practical situations. When negotiating a salary, for example, revealing your financial urgencies only weakens your position. Maintaining focus on the value delivered creates an advantage. Decisions based on real human nature always consider this. People use what they know against you, even without realizing it. Those who master information control understand that not everyone needs to know everything, and this applies to plans, emotions, and even opinions. A simple example, personal projects. Instead of announcing every step, the strategist works in silence, builds their own loyal armies, habits, skills, alliances, and only reveals themselves when the results speak for themselves. This isn't coldness, it's well-managed virtue and fortune. Constant adaptability also involves knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Interestingly, by reducing exposure, a person automatically begins to perceive something bigger happening around them, who talks too much, who overreacts, who gives more than they should, and this paves the way for understanding not only what is said, but when to act, because ultimately the next game isn't about talking, but about timing. There's a stark difference between those who react and those who act, and almost no one talks about it clearly. Reacting is instinct. Acting is strategy. Those who react impulsively believe they are demonstrating strength, but most of the time they are only surrendering control of the situation. Predictable people lose because they become easy to read. Machiavelli knew this well when he observed that decisions based on real human nature require patience, not haste. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows that the right moment is worth more than the perfect action at the wrong time. The end justifies the means when waiting is smarter than acting. True power lies not in responding quickly, but in knowing when silence creates more impact than any argument. An attentive mentor often teaches something simple, almost counterintuitive. Those who act last usually act best. Think of a discussion at work. While someone reacts in the heat of the moment, justifying themselves, over-explaining, or trying to defend themselves, another observes, listens, and registers patterns. When they finally speak, they have already understood the entire situation. This strategic delay changes everything. It's not passivity, it's the calculated use of force. A practical example. In negotiations, never accept or reject a proposal immediately. Saying, "I'll analyze it and get back to you," seems banal, but it creates psychological space and shifts the axis of power. Constant adaptability is born from this ability to pause, absorb, and only then decide. The right timing also protects you emotionally. When someone learns not to react immediately to provocations, criticism, or demands, they begin to avoid invisible traps. Better to be feared than loved doesn't mean being aggressive. It means being unpredictable in a good way. Those who don't react impulsively convey self-control, and self-control generates respect. Gradually, the person realizes that many conflicts die out on their own when they are not fueled. Avoiding being hated in particular involves not engaging in unnecessary disputes, and the more you observe this game, the more you begin to see that not every decision needs to be immediate. Some just need to wait for the scenario to fully unfold, especially when other silent forces are moving behind the scenes. A common mistake made by those beginning to understand power is believing it resides in positions, titles, or pretty organizational charts hanging on the wall. In practice, the world works in a far less elegant way. Real power is almost always invisible. It circulates through influence, informal alliances, emotional dependencies, and silent interests. Machiavelli observed this coldly. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows that those who rule are rarely those who appear at the top. Decisions based on real human nature require seeing beyond the official structure. The end justifies the means when you understand that obeying the organizational chart without reading the subtext is like playing chess while only looking at your own king. An experienced mentor teaches the following practical exercise. Enter any environment, company, family, social group, and observe who speaks, who listens, and who decides. Often, The quietest person in the room is the one who most influences the course of events. They don't raise their voice, but their opinions resonate afterward. This is the appearance of well-managed virtue. A simple example. In meetings, notice who people consult before making important decisions, even if that person doesn't hold the highest position. That's where the invisible game happens. Creating your own loyal armies in this context means building strategic relationships based on selective trust and a real exchange of value, not flattery. Those who begin to see through this invisible game also learn to position themselves better. Instead of competing for attention with those who only want the spotlight, the strategist invests in silent influence. They help solve key problems, offer solutions behind the scenes, and understand the right timing to make themselves visible. Virtù and fortuna go hand in hand here. Skill without understanding the environment is a waste. Constant adaptability means adjusting behavior according to who truly controls the flow of decisions. Gradually, the person realizes they don't need to shine for everyone, only for those who matter. And when this perception matures, something even more delicate emerges: the advantage of appearing harmless while learning to navigate forces that most don't even realize exist. There's a curious paradox in the social game that almost no one notices at first. The more someone shines too early, the faster they become a target. Highly competent people, when they display everything at once, arouse resistance, envy, and fear, even unintentionally. Machiavelli understood this clearly when talking about avoiding being hated. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that excessive brilliance provokes automatic defenses in others. The end justifies the means when discretion protects your path. Appearing less threatening is not about diminishing yourself. It's about managing your own light. It's about choosing when to show strength and when to appear as just another face in the crowd, while building something greater behind the scenes. A wise mentor often says, those who want to go far don't rush at the beginning. Learn. In practice, this means not revealing your entire repertoire in the first conversation, meeting, or project. A clear example appears in the professional environment. Someone who corrects everyone, brings all the solutions, and occupies all the space tends to be seen as a problem, not an asset. On the other hand, someone who contributes in a timely manner, solves what matters, and allows others to participate, builds influence without raising suspicion. This is the true appearance of virtue, competence accompanied by moderation. Decisions based on real human nature take into account that people resist those who threaten their status, even unconsciously. The strategy here is simple, but it demands self-control. Advance silently. Build your own loyal armies, skills, projects, connections, without fanfare. Use the calculated game of timing to reveal results, not intentions. Virtù and fortuna align when you allow success to appear as a natural consequence, not as self-promotion. Constant adaptability also comes into play here. Sometimes it's better to appear ordinary in a hostile environment until the ground is secure. And as you become less threatening in the eyes of others, you begin to notice something interesting. People relax, talk more, make mistakes, and this opens up space to understand why, often, it's not the loudest voice that dictates the rules. There's a dangerous naivete that many people carry in good faith, believing that a person's word is enough. In the real world, this rarely holds up. Conversations change, memories fail, and interests adjust as the wind blows. Machiavelli already observed that decisions based on real human nature need to consider this inconvenient detail. People reinterpret the past when it suits them. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows that documents trump emotional narratives. The end justifies the means when recording agreements is the only way to protect your position without direct conflict. Documenting everything isn't paranoia, it's strategic maturity. An experienced mentor teaches this in a practical and almost tedious way, precisely because it works. After a meeting, send a simple email summarizing what was agreed upon. After an important conversation, note the date, context, and key points. In negotiations, ask for written confirmations, even in short messages. It's not about explicit distrust, it's about creating a foundation. A clear example, projects agreed upon verbally tend to change scope. Documented projects have clear limits. This posture conveys a calculated use of force because you don't need to argue, just point out what was agreed upon. The appearance of virtue here manifests as organization and professionalism, not as rigidity. Over time, those who document everything notice something curious. Conflicts diminish. People become more cautious about promises when they know there's a record. This even helps avoid being hated because you don't need to confront emotionally. The paper does that for you. Virtù and fortuna go hand in hand when you build your own loyal armies in the field of formal information as well. Constant adaptability means knowing when to insist on recording and when to simply observe. And as you develop this habit, you begin to notice another silent advantage. Those who avoid documentation usually have something to hide, and this prepares the ground for the next move in the game. There's an unspoken rule governing negotiations, difficult conversations, and even personal relationships. Whoever reveals their intentions first loses room for maneuver. Not because they're wrong, but because they give away information too early. Machiavelli already warned that politics guided by reality, not ideals, favors those who observe before acting. When someone reveals their intentions right away, they set limits that the other party can exploit. The end justifies the means when waiting to hear is more strategic than speaking eloquently. Decisions based on real human nature stem from this simple principle. People use the first piece of information as leverage, consciously or unconsciously. A wise mentor often teaches a practical and elegant technique. Ask open-ended questions and listen attentively. Instead of stating what you want, invite the other person to explain what they seek, their priorities, and even their fears. In interviews, salary negotiations, or business conversations, this changes everything. Whoever speaks first sets the stage. Whoever listens first maps the terrain. This is the calculated use of force in its most subtle form. The appearance of virtue here manifests as genuine interest, when in reality you are gathering valuable data. Better to be feared than loved, in this context, means being respected for not being predictable. Over time, this approach creates a cumulative advantage. You learn to adjust your proposal, your response, or your position based on what the other person has revealed, not on assumptions. Virtù and fortuna align when you let the other person lower their guard while maintaining your own. Constant adaptability is born from this game of active listening and delayed action. Avoiding being hated also becomes easier because you don't confront directly. You position yourself better, and the more you practice this, the more you realize that people love to talk about themselves, and without noticing, they reveal exactly the cards you needed to see before playing yours. There's a silent advantage that only the most observant learn to use: being underestimated. Most people react badly when they aren't recognized, when they perceive someone as weak, naive, or irrelevant. However, in the real game, correcting this perception too early is usually a mistake. Machiavelli already showed that politics guided by reality, not ideals, favors those who understand human behavior as it is, not as they would like it to be. When someone underestimates you, they lower their guard. And the end justifies the means when this openness reveals intentions, strategies, and even contempt that were hidden. Decisions based on real human nature take this into account. An experienced mentor teaches something that seems strange at first glance. Don't rush to prove your worth to someone who hasn't asked for it. In professional environments, for example, when someone assumes you're not all that, the impulse is to show results immediately. But the most effective strategy is usually observation. Let the person talk, act, overpromise. The appearance of virtue here is controlled modesty, not insecurity. A practical example, in a new team, instead of imposing yourself, deliver well on what is asked of you and observe who really decides, who exaggerates, and who fails. Creating your own loyal armies begins with understanding people, not with confrontations. Over time, those who underestimated you become too comfortable, and that's when the truth comes out. Careless comments, ill-considered decisions, empty promises. This scenario creates a strategic advantage without emotional toll. Better to be feared than loved doesn't mean scaring, it means surprising when necessary. Virtù and fortuna walk hand in hand when you choose the right moment to reveal your strength. Constant adaptability requires knowing when to remain discreet and when to advance. And the more you practice this, the more you realize that strategic silence not only protects you, but also prepares the ground to avoid emotional traps that many people fall into without realizing it. Few things reveal a person more than an immediate emotional reaction. When someone explodes, defends themselves hastily, or over-justifies, they end up revealing exactly where it hurts. Machiavelli understood this clearly when he observed that decisions based on real human nature are not born from impulse, but from inner control. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that whoever controls their own emotions controls the situation. The end justifies the means when holding back a response avoids handing over your triggers on a silver platter. Reacting quickly may seem like courage, but it is almost always vulnerability in disguise. A wise mentor often teaches a practical rule. Strong emotion calls for pause, not a response. In conflicts, criticism, or provocations, momentary silence is a powerful form of calculated use of force. Think of someone who receives an unfair accusation at work. While some defend themselves in the heat of the moment, another breathes, observes, registers, and responds later with facts. Those who react emotionally become predictable. Those who respond calmly become difficult to manipulate. The appearance of virtue here manifests as balance, even when there is inner tension. Avoiding being hated also involves not fueling conflicts that only benefit the instigator. Over time, this posture creates silent respect. People begin to measure their words around those who don't react impulsively. Better to be feared than loved, in this context, means being seen as someone who doesn't lose control, someone who thinks before acting. Virtù and fortuna align when you transform self-control into a strategic advantage. Constant adaptability requires recognizing emotions, but not obeying them. And the more you practice this mastery, the more you realize that many try to control the environment emotionally, which opens space for something even more subtle, influencing without appearing to be influencing. There is a far more effective form of influence than convincing, imposing, or arguing, making the other person believe the idea was theirs. Those who understand this stop vying for credit and start vying for direction. Machiavelli already observed that politics guided by reality, not ideals, rewards those who know how to move people without pushing them. The end justifies the means when you realize we resist less what we discover on our own. Decisions based on real human nature consider the ego as the central piece of the game. Planting ideas without claiming them is the calculated use of force in its most elegant version. An experienced mentor teaches this practically. Replace statements with well-placed questions. Instead of saying, "This is the best way," ask, "What would happen if we tried this approach?" In meetings, strategic conversations, or even within the family, this simple change alters the game. People begin to defend the idea as if it were their own. The appearance of virtue here manifests as humility, when in reality there is strategic direction. A clear example: effective leaders ask questions that guide collective reflection, not long speeches. Better to be feared than loved in this context means being respected for quiet intelligence, not for the volume of one's voice. Over time, this technique creates lasting influence. You cease to be seen as someone who imposes their will and begin to be perceived as someone wise, who always asks the right questions. Virtue and fortuna align when you relinquish immediate credit to gain long-term control. Constant adaptability requires knowing when to let the idea mature in the other person. Avoiding being hated also becomes easier because no one feels pressured. And as you observe this game working, you realize something interesting. Some relationships only last as long as you provide answers, and that has a cost that few are willing to pay. Few people talk about this honestly, but every real strategy has a price. When someone starts acting with more awareness, less exposure, and more discernment, some relationships simply don't survive, and that's no accident. Machiavelli already showed that politics guided by reality, not ideals, exacts an emotional toll. The end justifies the means when you understand that not all friendship is loyalty. Many are convenience. Decisions based on real human nature reveal that some people get close while there's something to be gained. When the extraction ends, the bond weakens. That's the invisible cost of growing up. A wise mentor often warns frankly, by ceasing to over-explain, over-compromise, and overreact, you will be labeled cold, distant, or different. This happens because you stop feeding old dynamics. The appearance of virtue here isn't about pleasing, it's about maintaining composure. A practical example: when someone realizes they can no longer manipulate you emotionally, they tend to distance themselves or criticize. And that's okay. Creating your own loyal armies also means accepting that not everyone deserves to be near the center of your decisions. Better to be feared than loved, in this sense, is to be respected for maintaining clear boundaries. Over time, something interesting happens. The relationships that remain become stronger. Less drama, less implicit demands, more genuine exchange. Virtue and fortune walk hand in hand when you accept letting go of fragile ties to gain true connections. Constant adaptability requires maturity to deal with that initial emptiness. Avoiding being hated isn't about pleasing everyone, it's about not betraying your own strategy. And when you realize that respect weighs more than approval, you understand that this whole path, control, timing, silence, and influence, wasn't about pushing people away. It was about filtering who truly walks with you. If you've made it this far, you've already realized that this knowledge isn't comfortable, it's liberating. Now the question is simple but uncomfortable. What are you going to do with it? Will you continue to overexpose yourself, react impulsively, and wait for recognition? Or will you start acting with more silence, more situational awareness, and more strategy? Thinking 10 steps ahead isn't an innate talent, it's a daily decision. It's choosing when to speak, when to be silent, when to act, and most importantly, when to wait. Observe your routine starting today. In what situations do you give away too much information? Where do you react emotionally unnecessarily? Who truly influences the decisions around you? These answers change everything, because when you apply this knowledge, the game silently changes. You stop being a pawn and start understanding the board, and this doesn't just transform your career or your relationships, it transforms your attitude towards life. Now tell me, how many opportunities have you missed by not seeing the invisible game? How many decisions would you make differently if you thought more calmly and less impulsively? If this video made you reflect, it's a sign that something has already begun to change. So subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep learning. Here, you don't learn to react better. You learn to think better.